Are you frustrated with playing bar chords? Do you get annoyed because there's certain songs that you can't play? Do you even want to know what a bar chord is because maybe you've never even tried to play one? If this is you, you're in the right place. Today I'm going to talk about how to play bar chords and also alternatives to bar chords that you can get the same chord sound without having to use the bar chord. Learning guitar should really be fun. And so one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is because when you get hung up on chords you can't play, it makes it a lot less fun. And I've spent the last 10 months learning guitar, and I'm always looking for alternatives to make it easier, ways to make it more fun. So let's talk about 3 popular chords that you may be struggling with. For each of these chords, I'm going to show how to play the bar chord, and I'll show you the alternative. And in addition to this, you can download, I have a free downloadable chord sheet just for these bar chords that I'm going to talk about today. So you can download that and then you'll be able to look at it as a reference after this video. But I will walk through everything, so you shouldn't need it in front of you. But if you're interested in that, make sure to check out that after. And I'm going to cover 3 chords today: B minor, C minor, and F. And for B minor, we're going to cover the bottom 5 strings on the 2nd fret in, and you're going to just turn your finger a little bit so that it pushes into that little edge. And by turning your finger just a bit, it should make it a little bit easier to press down on those strings and hold it there. And then for where you're going to put your other fingers, you're going to put your next finger on the 2nd string up and then the 3rd string up. And that's what B minor. So your pinky isn't doing anything here, it's just hanging out. So then from there, you would be playing the bottom 5 strings. So you can see what that sounds like. Now, again, for if you want to have an alternative to this, really what you're doing, you're removing the bar. And so I could remove my 1st finger here. And I'm just going to put it on the 1st string in that same fret that I'm in. So instead of pushing it down on all these other strings, I'm just going to play that. So it reduces the number of fingers you have to press down on. And so for this, you're going to play the bottom 4 strings. So that's a way you can get an alternative. So now if you're playing, say you want to go from a D chord to that B minor, you can just kind of slide your fingers over, versus if you're here, you're going to have to really switch around. And also you'll notice I'm shifting my elbow a bit in order to make that. So you do have to have more movement. So from D to that B, and almost either way you are going to have to shift how you're holding your hand. And then you could try it like this as well. C minor, you're going to cover the bottom 5 strings on the 3rd fret, and then you're going to put your next finger on the next fret down on the 1st string, or sorry, 2nd string up, and then you're going to put the next 2 fingers in that next fret on the following 2 strings. So it should look like that. And then I'm going to play only the bottom 5 strings. Okay, that is what that looks like. Now, if you want to do simpler, you're essentially going to remove this bar, and you can see where my fingers are. You're just going to put this finger on the very 1st string. And so now, instead of having the bar all the way across, you're just going to have your fingers in that. It's really the same position, just you're not bothering with this bar, and you're just going to cover that 1st string, and then you're going to play the bottom 4 strings for that. So this should be a little bit easier to play. You can move your fingers around a little bit than trying to bar the whole. So give that a try. That's the C minor chord. If you like this sort of video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to help me grow my channel, and also make sure that you get the latest videos as I release them. Thanks. All right, let's move on to the F chord next. So for the F chord, you actually have to bar across all of the strings, so it's a little bit further of an extension. And similar to the recommendation I gave on the B and C, you just turn your finger a little bit to be able to press into that little edge a little bit more. And then for the F chord, you're going to go 1, 2, 3 up, and then you're going to do the 4th and 5th strings with your pinky, your other 2 fingers. So it should look like this. And then you can play that. Now, for me, this was, especially as a beginner, it's really tough for me to do that. So I switched to another chord, which is a little bit different shape, but it does something similar where you're going to just only press the first 2 strings on the 1st fret, then you're going to go to the next string on the next fret and the next string on the next fret. So kind of like at an angle. So it should look something like that. And for this, you can just play the bottom 4 strings. So the difference here with these chords is that you're shifting and not playing all the strings. So you do have to think about, I'm playing F, I need to only play the bottom 4 strings. So that can be something else you have to think about, but it may be easier than trying to make a chord that's really hard for your hand to make. And you're going to get a little bit different sound, meaning you're not strumming as many strings. So the volume that you're going to get from playing these chords is going to be quite a bit different. But you know, it's one of these decisions you make. Is it better to play an F chord that's, you know, a few less strings, or do you just not play F at all? And you know, it's kind of funny, just as I was going through Ultimate Guitar just now to find a song that had an F chord in it, and I picked out 10 different songs and none of them had an F chord in it. So I think it tells you that a lot of people just don't like to play the F, and so they don't even include it in their songs, which is kind of funny. So that was the last chord that I wanted to talk about, the alternatives. So the bottom line with playing chords is that you need to make sure that playing guitar continues to be fun for you. It shouldn't be a chore. And while at times it can be a little bit frustrating, you'll get feel like you got a lot of reward out of being able to add a new chord to your repertoire and be able to play that. I know for me, I have struggled with bar chords, and it's been 10 months and I almost never play a bar chord. So it looks like I have more time to learn. So if you're still new in your journey, don't stress out too much. Find some alternative ways and have fun with it. That's the purpose of learning guitar, is to have fun, not make it a job. I wanted to just give a little bit more of a tip around how to hold your hand when you are doing the bar chords. So I talked about, you know, turning your finger a bit to the side, but on the back of the guitar, you want to hold your thumb, make sure you have your thumb and you're kind of pinching that so that you're able to press that down enough, and then putting your other fingers into place. And the other trick here is to sort of shift your elbow in, and then it should be easier to get your fingers in place. So normally I might play like this with my elbow out a little bit if I'm playing another chord like an A or a D. But then when you're getting into this, you have to shift a little bit. And you see when I shift my elbow in and I'm holding my pinching like I showed at the beginning, pinch with your thumb on the back, and then put your other fingers into place. And if that's too hard, you can go back to the other option that I showed. You can see how that sounds pretty similar. Today I thought I would mainly cover bar chords, but I did get a question around how to do the A chord. You think it's harder than it is until you see this little trick. So I'm going to actually talk about the A chord for you and just throw this in as a little bonus tip for you. So if you are making the A chord, it's the pressing down on the 2nd fret in, and you're going to do the 3, 4, and 5 strings here. Sorry, from the bottom, 2, 3, and 4. strings, so kind of in the middle here, and then you're going to play all the strings for that. For this, what the trick in making this chord is, instead of trying to do it from underneath and trying to hold it like that, you can do it that way. That will work. But I found just twisting my hand a little bit and almost wrapping my hand around to push those down sort of around makes it a little bit easier to press those and hold them down. And then, because you're trying to fit all 3 fingers in this tiny little spot. So that's my tip, and it's interesting because I played ukulele before this, and the D chord is really the same shape, and so that's sort of where I learned that technique. Was I brought that from another instrument. So that's how you play A chord, and I hope that helps you out. Another trick I wanted to talk about is the use of a capo to make some of these chords easier for you to play. And this is going to work if you're not worried too much about singing. That's another topic. But in order to make chords easier to play, if you put your capo in, we'll just say, give an example, 5 in, where you should see a little dot so that it makes it easy. And you put that in, and then when you go to play, we'll show the F. So 2 strings, the next one up, 3rd and 4. And then now I can play that. So it's a little bit easier because when you get down the neck, the frets are closer together. So it can be easier if you have small hands in order to fit them in there a little bit easier. So I find to play F lower on the neck is a lot easier, even with the alternative one. I don't even know, I hadn't really thought about playing the full F chord, but right now I can tell you that feels a lot easier to manage than if you're higher up on the neck. So play around with that a little bit, and then what some people do, they'll start learning down the neck, for practice or whatnot, and then move up the fret as they start to get better. So move the capo up to different levels. Now, if you're singing and you want to choose a specific key for a song, that's a whole nother topic. So then you have to be able to play any position, the same chord. So this trick that I'm showing may not work in all cases, but it is a handy little trick to keep in mind. And especially if you're writing songs and you want to use one of these bar chords or an F chord, it's a lot easier to just write the song with the capo down the neck. I hope that was helpful for you. This upcoming week, I would like to challenge you to give these bar chords a chance or a try, and then also try the alternatives to see if that will help you be able to play more songs. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video today, and I will see you next time. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you.